Hi, I'm Benji Hardy. I have your Arkansas Times Daily News Roundup for Monday, March 23rd. Max is on vacation, so all this week we shall be filling in for him. Let's start with Senator Tom Cotton. A letter that he wrote infamously a couple weeks ago, interfering in U.S. talks with Iran, has made him the target of activists from the anti-war group Code Pink. A group of activists dressed in Revolutionary War garb and interrupted a speech that Cotton was delivering to a neoconservative think tank in Washington, D.C. today. They delivered him a letter condemning his activities. I'd like to touch on a story that we haven't really covered much at the Times, but is definitely relevant given our interest in the child welfare system in Arkansas. Down in Hot Springs, there's a family called the Stanleys that's been in the news a lot. 7 kids were taken away from this home in January following a Garland County Sheriff's investigation into the household. There are allegations of some sort of abuse and neglect against the parents there. The Stanleys and their supporters say that the state removed the kids unjustly, but as is often the case with matters involving the Department of Human Services, it's really hard to know what actually happened since child welfare cases are shrouded in confidentiality. But today, a judge ruled that 4 of those children can now be temporarily placed back in the home, and the other 3 of the 7 that were removed will be visiting on weekends. There will be another hearing scheduled sometime in May. Let's talk a little bit about different legislation that's been headed through the legislature. Clark Tucker is running a bill to address electioneering communications that will be in the State Agencies Committee this afternoon. By electioneering communications, we're referring to the ads you see during campaign season, plenty in 2014, that talk about how great or how awful a certain candidate is, but they're not actually paid for by the campaign. At the end, they'll often say, paid for by insert name of group here. So that's electioneering, and it's currently completely unregulated by state law. Tucker has introduced a bill that would regulate it, just like campaign commercials themselves are regulated, and we'll see how it fares in the committee. There's a couple of really important pieces of legislation coming up tomorrow in the House Public Health Committee. One is also sponsored by Tucker that would provide maternity leave for state employees up to 6 weeks. The U.S. infamously, I'd say, is really the only developed nation in the world that does not provide significant maternity leave for women here in this country. This bill would only affect state employees. It's a small step in the right direction, but we'll see once again how public health likes that. Another important bill in public health is sponsored by a Republican representative, Josh Miller. And Miller has gained a reputation as being a fiscal conservative who is staunchly opposed to the private option, but he is pushing a very positive piece of legislation in this case, something that would enable implementation of the community first choice option. So what this bill would do is it would require the state to clear its waiting list for people receiving developmental disability waivers. There are a lot of families out there in the state of Arkansas that don't want to send their children who may have autism or another developmental disability away to an institution. They'd prefer to care for them in their homes or in a community setting. But currently, you have to get a waiver to do that, and there are about 3,000 families on a waiting list waiting to receive that waiver. Miller's bill, which is coming up tomorrow, would require the state to clear that waiting list by September of 2016, and that would probably entail participating in a federal program called the Community First Choice Option that the legislature so far has been very resistant to signing on board to, since it's part of the Affordable Care Act, aka Obamacare. Even though Miller does not like the private option, does not care for Obamacare, he, who is a person who is himself confined to a wheelchair, believes that we need to be doing a better job of caring for disabled folks in our state. So we'll see how that bill fares tomorrow. That's it for today. Please tune in tomorrow for Tuesday.